My pen was hovering over the paper, black ink on a white page. $13 million. The number was blinding, tempting. My phone screen lit up. A Slack notification from HR popped onto the screen. Ethan Cole, due to a corporate restructuring, your position has been eliminated. Please finalize your exit procedures today. I almost laughed. Across the table, my boss, the greasy Mar Peterson, was still raising his glass, rambling about the future. Ethan, my boy, you signed this. An employee of the year is in the bag. I'll make sure you get all the credit. I pulled the pen back. As his smile stiffened, I slowly pushed the contract back across the polished table to the client. Mr. Sterling, let's hold off on signing this for now. I looked him in the eye. Wait until I find a new company. Then we'll talk. The grin completely melted off Mark's face. The client, David Sterling, just raised an eyebrow, a spark of amusement in his eyes. I'll give you 1 hour. Ethan, are you insane? Mark's shriek shattered the quiet of the conference room. His fleshy body trembled with rage, his jowls quivering. Do you have any idea what this is? $13 million. This is half a year's profit for the company. What are you trying to do? Start a rebellion? I ignored him, my gaze fixed on Mr. Sterling. He was a man in his 40s, with a calm, commanding presence. He didn't even glance at the apoplectic Mark. His eyes were on me, filled with a calculating curiosity. You were just laid off? He asked. I nodded, picked up my phone, and flashed the termination notice at him. Just now, yes, I said, my voice even. So, as you can see, I'm no longer authorized to sign this contract. Mark snatched my phone. As he read the message, his face went from red to white, then to a sickly shade of green. His lips trembled, his fingers shaking as he pointed at me, speechless. You, Mark. I cut him off. Why don't you continue the discussion with Mr. Sterling? I have to go handle my severance paperwork. With that, I stood up, straightened my suit jacket, gave Mr. Sterling a slight nod, and turned to leave. Stop. Mark finally found his voice, roaring like a wounded animal. You stop right there. Ethan, I'm telling you, if this deal goes south, I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I paused at the door and turned back, my gaze cold. Did you forget, Mark? My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a shard of ice. This deal, from the first contact with the client to developing the proposal through every single negotiation, I did it all myself. What did you do, other than slur my boy can really hold his liquor at a steak dinner? You. Mark's face turned the color of raw liver. 3 months, 17 trips to the client's office, 28 versions of the proposal. And you? You sat in your air-conditioned office, scrolling through TikTok, getting ready to pocket the biggest chunk of the commission. My words were a scalpel, peeling back his pathetic, self-serving facade. Now, the company has fired me. Do you really think I'm obligated to hand-deliver this prize right into your lap? The conference room was dead silent. Mr. Sterling leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips, as if he were watching a damn good movie. His 2 associates were looking down, their shoulders shaking slightly, obviously trying to stifle their laughter. Mark's breathing grew heavy, his eyes locked on me, spitting pure venom. Fine, Ethan, you've got guts, he seethed. You think the world stops turning without you? You think this deal can't get signed? I'm telling you, I'm signing this contract today. He turned to Mr. Sterling, his face instantly transforming into a mask of sycophantic charm. Mr. Sterling, please, don't listen to his nonsense. Our company is rock solid. We don't need any single employee. Let's sign this right now. As for the price, I'll even knock another 2% off for you. Mr. Sterling just smiled, unmoved. He looked past Mark directly at me. Young man, I'll say it again. I'm giving you 1 hour. If you can find a new firm and bring me a new contract in 1 hour, this $13 million deal is yours. Then he stood up and adjusted his tie. Mark, let's call it a day for now. We'll talk in an hour. Mr. Sterling and his team swept out of the room, leaving Mark alone, slumped in his chair like a deflated balloon, his face as white as a sheet. I gave him one last look, then walked out of the conference room. The sunlight fell sharp as I stepped out of the office building. I took a deep breath. I didn't feel loss, just a strange, exhilarating sense of freedom. But where could I find a new company? 1 hour. Where the hell was I supposed to find a firm willing to immediately back me on a multi-million-dollar project? As the thought crossed my mind, A cherry-red Ferrari screeched to a halt directly in front of me. The tinted window rolled down, revealing a face of breathtaking, ice-cold beauty. Sunglasses covered the top half of her face, but her porcelain skin, the elegant line of her nose, and her perfectly defined red lips spoke of a stunning woman. Her, Isabella Frost, the CEO of Frost Corporation. The woman rumored to be worth billions, a legend known as the Ice Queen of the business world. I'd only ever seen her once, from a distance, at an industry summit. What was she doing here? Get in. Her voice was cool, devoid of any emotion. I just stood there, stunned. I said, get in. Isabella seemed to be losing her patience. She took off her sunglasses, and her sharp, almond-shaped eyes locked onto mine with an authority that was impossible to question. I opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. The air inside was filled with a faint, pleasant, cool fragrance. You were fired? She asked, getting straight to the point. I was surprised. How did she know? I was in the coffee shop across the street. I saw everything, she explained, her words concise. I said nothing. You have 1 hour to sign Sterling's deal. Isabella pulled a file from the glove compartment and tossed it into my lap. This is a blank contract from Frost Corporation. You fill in the terms. As long as you can close the deal, as of today, you are the new director of marketing for Frost Corporation. I picked up the contract, my mind reeling. Frost Corporation? Director of marketing? This felt like a dream. Why me? I had to ask. Isabella put her sunglasses back on and started the car. The Ferrari let out a low growl. Because I've read every proposal you've ever written, she said, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. 3 years ago, your market forecast for the Blue Ocean Initiative was accurate to 2 decimal places. A year ago, your risk assessment for the Stardust project pointed out 3 critical flaws. All 3 of them came true. She paused, and for a moment, her voice seemed to carry a hint of something more. This industry is filled with mediocrity and fools. Someone like you shouldn't be buried in a garbage company like that. Now go and take back what's yours. When I reappeared at the conference room door, holding a contract emblazoned with the gold-stamped logo of Frost Corporation, there were still 10 minutes left on the clock. I pushed the door open. Mark was in the middle of a desperate, spittle-flecked pitch to Mr. Sterling, his face plastered with the most obsequious smile I've ever seen. Mr. Sterling, rest assured, our company is completely sincere. I'll drop the price another point. Just think of it as a gesture of friendship. Mr. Sterling was holding a teacup, slowly blowing on the steam, not even bothering to look up. When he saw me, Mark's fawning laughter died in his throat, like a duck being strangled. His eyes bulged in disbelief. What are you doing back here? I ignored him and walked straight to Mr. Sterling, placing the contract gently on the table. Mr. Sterling, sorry to keep you waiting. He finally put down his teacup. When his gaze fell on the words Frost Corporation on the cover, his pupils contracted sharply. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of shock and admiration. Frost Corporation, he said slowly, a slight tremor in his voice. Mark scrambled over. When he saw the logo, he looked like he'd been struck by lightning, frozen in place. Frost Corp? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. He shrieked, pointing at me with a hand that trembled like a leaf. How could you possibly be connected to Frost Corporation? This is a fake. You must have forged it. I let out a cold laugh, opened the contract, and pushed it toward Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling, this is an official contract from Frost Corporation. The terms are exactly as we discussed previously. $13 million, not a penny less. Additionally, I'm personally authorizing this. Follow-up technical support will be provided by Frost's top-tier team, free of charge for the next 3 years. Mr. Sterling's eyes lit up. He took the contract and read it carefully, a broad smile spreading across his face. What was Frost Corporation? Mark's sad little company wasn't worthy of shining their shoes. And technical support from Frost's elite team? That was worth millions on its own. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Mr. Sterling said, slapping the table. Ethan, no, Mr. Cole. I'm glad to be doing business with you. He picked up his pen and signed his name with a flourish, then stamped it with his company's official seal. A pleasure doing business with you, he said, standing to shake my hand. I gripped his hand firmly. The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Sterling. Throughout the entire process, Mark stood there like a statue, his mouth hanging open wide enough to fit a baseball. He stared at the signed contract at Mr. Sterling's warm and enthusiastic attitude toward me, and the color drained from his face, leaving it a pasty, sickly white. No, this is impossible. That deal was mine. It was mine, he muttered, his eyes vacant, as if he'd lost his mind. I secured my copy of the contract and turned to leave. Ethan, Mark suddenly lunged at me like a feral dog, trying to snatch the contract from my hand. Give that back. That belongs to our company. I frowned, sidestepping him with ease. He lunged in an empty air, his overweight body losing its balance. He crashed to the floor with a heavy, pathetic thud. Mark, I said, looking down at him, my eyes like ice. The moment you conspired with HR to kick me out, this contract had nothing to do with you or your company ever again. Remember this. I walked away. You didn't take anything from me. Without another glance, I strode out of the room. Behind me, Mark's desperate, high-pitched scream echoed down the hall. It was music to my ears. While I got back to the red Ferrari, Isabella Frost was leaning against the door, a slender cigarette between her fingers. In the swirling smoke, her profile looked even more impossibly beautiful. Seeing the contract in my hand, she stubbed out the cigarette, the corner of her lip twitching into a barely perceptible smile. Get in. Back to the office. We have a meeting. It was the same cold tone, but for some reason, I thought I heard a hint of approval. The Frost Corporation headquarters was a magnificent, 100-story skyscraper in the heart of the city's bustling financial district. As I followed Isabella into the penthouse CEO office, I finally understood the true meaning of corporate power. The office was at least 1,000 square feet, with floor-to-ceiling panoramic windows that looked out over a sea of clouds, towering above the city's endless river of traffic. Your office is next door. All the marketing department files will be on your desk in 30 minutes, Isabella said, sitting behind a massive mahogany desk and gesturing to a door on the side. At 3 o'clock, there's an executive board meeting. You'll need to present a follow-up implementation plan for this $13 million project. Any questions? I took a deep breath, trying to process the shock. From a laid-off salesman to the marketing director of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, all in just over an hour. The change was so fast it felt surreal. But I knew this was my chance. It was also a test. No questions, I said with a firm nod. Good. Isabella looked down at a document. You can go. I turned and walked into my new office. It was smaller than hers, but still a generous 500 square feet, with the same incredible panoramic view. A brand new MacBook sat on the desk, next to an unopened, latest model iPhone. I had just sat down when there was a knock on the door. A sharp-looking woman in a business suit walked in. She wore gold-rimmed glasses and was carrying a stack of files. Mr. Cole, hello. I'm Chloe Jenkins, the CEO's executive assistant. Ms. Frost asked me to bring you the marketing department files. She placed the files on my desk, pushed her glasses up her nose, and studied me with a critical eye. Also, Ms. Frost wanted me to let you know that the marketing department is a bit of a complicated situation. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. How so? Chloe's expression was delicate. The current head of the department is Donovan Hayes, the vice president. He's one of the company's old guard, and he's the nephew of Mr. Hayes, a member of the board of directors. I understood immediately. The new guy parachuted in, landing right on top of the old guard's territory. A classic corporate drama. Ms. Frost appointed you as director, bypassing Mr. Hayes. He might have some issues with that, Chloe said, choosing her words carefully. Got it. Thanks, Chloe, I said with a small smile. She nodded and left. I looked at the mountain of files on my desk, then at the clock on the wall. The 3 o'clock meeting was less than 2 hours away. I had to quickly get up to speed on the entire department, draft a bulletproof implementation plan, and prepare for the inevitable political dogfight. Interesting. Instead of feeling pressured, I felt a long-forgotten thrill of battle rising in my chest. At my old company, my hands were tied. I had skills I could never use. Now, Isabella Frost had given me a stage big enough to perform on. Let's see what kind of show I could put on. I picked up the top file and started reading, my mind working like a supercomputer, absorbing and processing everything. Department personnel, past performance metrics, current projects, financial reports. All the data rapidly formed a three-dimensional model in my head. An hour and a half later, I set down a last file. A detailed three-phase, 16-step implementation plan was already fully formed in my mind. I picked up the new phone on my desk and dialed David Sterling's number. Mr. Sterling, it's Ethan Cole. Ethan, haha, calling me so soon? What can I do for you? His cheerful voice boomed from the other end. Not at all, I chuckled. Actually, I was hoping you could do me a small favor. 3 o'clock, the main executive conference room at Frost Corporation. Around the long, polished table sat more than a dozen of the company's top executives, all in expensive suits, radiating power. Isabella sat at the head of the table, her expression unreadable. I sat at her left. Directly across from me, a bald, pot-bellied man in his 50s was staring daggers at me with unconcealed hostility. That had to be the VP of Marketing, Donovan Hayes. All right, everyone's here. Let's begin, Isabella's cool voice announced. I've called this meeting to make an announcement. Effective today, Mr. Ethan Cole will be the new Director of Marketing for Frost Corporation, with full authority over all departmental operations. The moment she finished, Donovan Hayes slammed his palm on the table with a loud bang. I object. The air in the room instantly froze. All eyes turned to Donovan's face, which was twisted with fury. Ms. Frost. He shot to his feet, pointing a sausage-like finger at me. I don't know what kind of nonsense this kid has been feeding you, but making him the director? Where are his qualifications? I've been with Frost for 20 years. I built the marketing department from the ground up, and now you're just going to bring in some random nobody to walk all over me? I won't stand for it. His voice echoed through the vast conference room, thick with resentment. The other executives stared at their notepads, feigning indifference. This was clearly a battle between the CEO and the old guard. No one wanted to pick a side too early. Isabella's expression didn't change. She just looked at Donovan as if he were a clown. Mr. Hayes, she began, her voice like steel, you've been here for 20 years, yet last year, the marketing department's performance ranked third to last among all departments in the entire corporation. Is that the legacy you're so proud of? Donovan's face flushed a deep crimson. He opened his mouth but couldn't utter a single word in his defense. Who I appoint is none of your concern, Isabella stated with absolute authority. I make my decisions based on ability, not tenure. Ability? What ability does he have? Donovan latched onto the word like a drowning man, clutching a straw, turning his attack back to me. He just started today. He probably doesn't even know where the marketing department is. All because he signed some little $13 million deal? I signed dozens of deals that size every year. Is that so? I finally spoke, a faint smile on my face. I stood up, walked to the large projection screen at the front of the room, and connected my laptop. Since Mr. Hayes is questioning my ability, allow me to show everyone my plan. I clicked a button. A sleek presentation appeared on the screen. Regarding Mr. Sterling's $13 million project, my plan isn't just to complete it. My plan is to leverage it to break into a new market worth at least $300 million. My first sentence sent a ripple of shock through the room. Every executive sucked in a breath. A $13 million deal to leverage a $300 million market? Was this kid a genius or just delusional? Donovan let out a derisive snort. Ha ha ha. 300 million? Who do you think you are? King Midas? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I ignored his mockery and continued. Mr. Sterling's project is an upgrade for a production line of new, eco-friendly materials. This entire sector across the whole Midwest is still in its infancy. Our main competitor, Apex Industries, just announced a $500 million investment last month to enter this exact market. I switched to the next slide, which displayed a detailed analysis of Apex Industries and their market strategy. Everyone assumes Apex will dominate this new market, but they have a fatal weakness. Their core technology relies on a key catalyst imported from overseas. Not only is this catalyst extremely expensive, but supply chain is highly unstable. Meanwhile, Mr. Sterling's company has a small, behind-the-scenes R&D team that has been secretly developing a domestic alternative for the past 5 years. While they haven't perfected it yet, they have made a major breakthrough. The conference room was utterly silent. Everyone was stunned by the information I was revealing. This was intel they had never even heard of. The sneer on Donovan's face had frozen, replaced by a look of disbelief. "My plan is this," I said, my voice ringing with conviction. Frost Corporation will not only complete the production line upgrade for Mr. Sterling, but we will also immediately invest in his R&D team. We will spare no expense to overcome the final technical hurdles for this domestic catalyst within 1 month. Once we control the core technology, we won't just break free from foreign dependence. We'll be able to cut production costs by at least 60%. At that point, Apex Industries' $500 million investment will become a joke. The entire eco-friendly materials market in the Midwest will be ours for the taking. When I finished, the room was plunged into a deathly silence. Every executive was staring at me as if I were some kind of alien. This plan went far beyond a simple project proposal. This was a grand, ambitious, industry-shattering strategic vision. Its foresight, its feasibility, and the sheer scale of the potential profits sent a shiver down the spine of every seasoned business veteran in the room. After a long moment, the CFO, a man with thin-rimmed glasses, spoke in a trembling voice. This intelligence, where did you get it? We knew nothing about Sterling having an R&D team. Donovan snapped back to his senses, his voice sharp. Exactly. He's making it all up. I've researched Sterling's little company. There's no R&D team. You're fabricating facts to deceive the CEO. I just smiled and looked toward Isabella at the head of the table. For the first time, a genuine smile graced her lips, the excited, appreciative smile of a predator that has found its prize. She picked up her phone and pressed the speaker button. A cheerful, booming voice filled the entire conference room. "Mr. Cole, that favor you asked for? It's done. My chief scientist, Dr. Evans, is downstairs in your lobby right now. He's ready to come up and brief your team on our research progress at any time." It was David Sterling's voice. Boom! It was like a bomb had gone off in the room. Everyone was stunned. Donovan looked as though he'd been struck by lightning. He staggered back and collapsed in his chair, his face ashen. He finally understood. I wasn't bluffing. It was all real. And he had just been acting like a buffoon, jumping up and down, questioning everything. A new hire who had been with the company for less than 3 hours, had not only closed a multi-million-dollar deal, but had also unearthed a potential $100 million gold mine, and had even summoned the client's chief scientist to the lobby on a whim. What kind of terrifying execution and networking ability was that? Donovan stared at me, and for the first time, his eyes showed fear. He knew he had picked a fight with someone he couldn't afford to cross. He was finished. "Mr. Hayes." Isabella's cool voice broke the silence. Each word was a cold hammer blow against Donovan's heart. "Now, do you still think Mr. Cole is unqualified?" Donovan shuddered, a cold sweat instantly drenching his shirt. He opened his mouth, but only a strangled croak came out. What could he possibly say? The proof was right there. His precious 20 years of experience were as flimsy as a piece of paper in the face of my decisive action. The department he had managed for years had failed to spot a gold mine right under its nose, while I, an outsider, had dug it up in less than an hour. The gap between us was an abyss. Donovan's lips trembled. He wanted to beg, to make excuses, but under Isabella's icy gaze, the words died in his throat. "As of today, you are no longer the vice president of marketing," Isabella declared, her judgment swift and merciless. "Out of consideration for your years of service, I'll allow you to resign gracefully. Go to HR and handle the paperwork yourself." Donovan's body went limp as if all the bones had been removed from it. Resign. The position he had clawed his way into for 20 years was just gone. He glared at me, his eyes filled with a desperate, crazed hatred. It was all because of this kid. If it weren't for him, I'd still be the high and mighty VP Hayes. If it weren't for him, I could have kept coasting in my comfortable position. "Ms. Frost, I won't accept this." Donovan shot up, screaming hysterically. "You can't do this to me. My uncle is Daniel Hayes. He's on the board. He'll never agree to you firing me." He played his final card, his biggest protector. The expressions on the other executives' faces became guarded. Daniel Hayes was one of the original board members. Though his stake wasn't huge, his roots in the company ran deep, and he often clashed with Isabella. Was she really going to start an all-out war with a senior board member for the sake of a new hire? Isabella just let out a cold laugh. Daniel Hayes? Her tone was dripping with contempt. You think he has time to worry about you right now? She picked up a remote and turned on another large screen in the conference room. A live feed from Financial News Channel appeared. A serious-looking anchorwoman was speaking rapidly. In breaking news, just 10 minutes ago, the SEC, in a joint operation with the Office of the Inspector General, launched a surprise raid on Apex Industries and several affiliated public companies. Sources say the investigation involved a massive insider trading and kickback scheme. The chairman of Apex Industries, Marcus Thorne, has already been taken into custody. Following this news, Apex Industries' stock price plummeted at the opening bell, instantly hitting its circuit breaker limit, with over $30 billion in market value wiped out in seconds. According to a reliable source, the breakthrough in the case came from an anonymous tip, which provided detailed evidence of illegal financial transactions between Apex Industries and a board member of Frost Corporation, Daniel Hayes. Boom! If Sterling's phone call had been a bomb, this news report was a nuclear warhead. Every single executive in the room shot to their feet, their faces masks of pure, unadulterated horror. Apex Industries had collapsed. Board member Daniel Hayes was under investigation, and it was all triggered by an anonymous tip. Instinctively, every person in the room turned to look at me, their eyes filled with a new kind of awe and terror. Donovan's legs gave out, and he crumpled to the floor. A dark, wet patch rapidly spread across the front of his pants. He had wet himself. He wasn't an idiot. It was all too much of a coincidence. The moment I presented my strategy, targeting Apex Industries, Apex collapsed. The moment I moved against Donovan, his powerful uncle was taken down. There were no coincidences that perfect in the world. The only explanation was that the anonymous tip that had destroyed both Apex Industries and Daniel Hayes had come from the impossibly young man standing before them. Who was he? What kind of creature was he? This wasn't business strategy anymore. This was a God-level takedown. I looked down at the pathetic heap that was Donovan Hayes, my expression calm. During my time at that small company, I had spent countless nights researching our competitors to win deals. I knew more about Apex Industries' dirty laundry than anyone. As for Daniel Hayes and his dirty dealings, Isabella had filled me in on the car ride over. She gave me the stage. It was only right that I cleared of obstacles for her. All I did was package the information and anonymously send it to the right people. I walked over to Donovan, crouched down, and patted his stunned face. Mr. Hayes. Oh, wait. Just Donovan now. So, tell me again. Am I the one who isn't qualified? Or is it you? Donovan was dragged out of the conference room by 2 security guards like a sack of garbage. As he left, his eyes were empty, and he kept muttering, impossible, impossible. In the room, the remaining executives looked at me with entirely new eyes. What was once scrutiny and disdain was now nothing but raw fear and respect. They looked at me as if I were a king who commanded thunder and lightning. This young man's methods were too ruthless, too precise. With a single move, he had caused an earthquake. In 1 hour, he toppled the department VP. In 3 hours, he brought down a multi-billion-dollar corporation and took out the most troublesome board member in the company along with it. Was this something a normal human being could do? Well, that's taken care of. Isabella's voice broke the silence. She looked around the table, and wherever her gaze landed, the executives instinctively lowered their heads. Any other objections to Mr. Cole's appointment? Silence. Are you kidding me? Who would dare object now? Did they have a death wish? Or did they think their backers were more powerful than Apex Industries? Excellent. Isabella nodded in satisfaction, then looked at me. Director Cole, the meeting will continue. Please, tell us your next steps. Yes, Ms. Frost. I walked back to the front of the room, instantly picking up where I had been interrupted. Now that Apex Industries is out of the picture, there's a massive power vacuum in the Midwest's eco-friendly materials market. I propose we immediately form a special task force, which I will lead personally and advance on 3 fronts. First, the investment team. Immediately initiate a series of funding round for Mr. Sterling's company. $50 million. I want the capital injected within 1 week. At the same time, we secure the exclusive global distribution rights for the catalyst once the R&D is complete. Second, the sales team. Using this project as our flagship case, we will rapidly expand our reach to every potential client in the Midwest. Within 1 month, I want to secure over 60% of the market share. Third, the PR team. We will launch a massive campaign promoting our breakthrough with the domestic catalyst, dominating the media narrative and establishing Frost Corporation as the national leader in green technology. My voice echoed in the conference room, every word filled with power and confidence. The executives were listening with rapt attention, their eyes gleaming. They could almost see a vast business empire rising before them, with a young man at the front as its architect. I agree. Seconded. No objections from me. I fully support Director Cole's plan. The executives, who had been sitting like statues just moments before, were now tripping over themselves to voice their support, their attitudes having done a complete 180. Isabella watched me, her cool, almond-shaped eyes shimmering with a brilliant light. She knew she had found a treasure, but she never imagined it would be a world-shaking, legendary one. The meeting ended an hour later. When I walked out of the conference room, every executive instinctively made way for me, their faces showing humble and respectful smiles. Excellent work, Director Cole. Director, we look forward to working under your guidance. This was the respect that came with power. When I got back to my office, Chloe was already waiting for me by the door. Director Cole, she said, her eyes now also filled with reverence. Your office has been rearranged according to your preferences, and we've replaced the coffee machine with your favorite brand. Also, the entire marketing department staff is waiting for you in the downstairs conference room. Shall I? Let them wait, I said simply. A new leader is supposed to light 3 fires. My first fire had burned away a VP and a board member. My second had illuminated the company's future. It was time for the third fire, the one that would purge the marketing department itself. Donovan had been in charge for years. The department was undoubtedly filled with his cronies and dead weight. If I didn't cut out the rot, my plans would never be executed smoothly. I took my time in my office, slowly drinking a cup of coffee and reviewing a few urgent emails. After a full 30 minutes, I leisurely stood up and made my way to the downstairs conference room. I was going to let them know exactly who was in charge now. The moment I pushed open the door, dozens of people shot to their feet. Dozens of pairs of eyes locked onto me, all of them filled with anxiety and apprehension. I walked to the head of the table and sat down, my gaze slowly sweeping over every single person in the room. Under my stare, several people instinctively lowered their heads, their eyes darting away, unable to meet my gaze. Good. It was already clear who was who. Sit, I said. A collective sigh of relief went through the room as they all sat down, though their backs remained ramrod straight. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm your new director. I don't care who you reported to before or whose team you were on. Starting today, you work for me. Period. If you can perform, you'll stay. You'll be promoted, you'll get raises, and I will pay you far above the industry standard. If you can't, or if you don't want to, I paused, my gaze becoming as sharp as a razor. You can go to HR right now and collect your severance package. I won't stop you. I'll give you 3 minutes to think about it. With that, I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and said nothing more. You could have heard a pin drop in a room. Everyone looked at each other, not daring to even breathe too loudly. 3 minutes later, I opened my eyes. All right, time's up. Anyone who wants to leave can go now. No one moved. Good, I nodded, satisfied. It seems everyone wants to stay and do good work. My tone shifted as I picked up a list in front of me. In that case, let me just call out a few names. Kevin Strong, Jessica Meyer, Stan Harris. I read off 7 or 8 names in a row. The faces of those I named instantly turned bone white. These people were Donovan's core sycophants. They had coasted on his protection for years, bullying their colleagues and slacking off, their performance records a complete disaster. The 8 of you, I said, looking at them coldly, are fired. On what grounds? A hothead named Kevin Strong shot to his feet, his face a mask of indignation. Director Cole, we didn't say we wanted to leave. You can't just fire us. Yeah, we're long-term employees. We've worked hard for this company. You can't just come in here and fire us. It's against company policy, another person chimed in. Soon, all of them were clamoring, trying to form a united front. They thought there was safety in numbers, that a brand new director wouldn't dare fire so many people at once. I laughed. Policy? I looked at them as if they were idiots. Right now, I am the policy. I picked up another file and tossed it on the table. Kevin Strong. Employed for 3 years. 0 sales this quarter. Last month, on the Sunshine Project, your negligence cost the company $300,000, and you blamed it on a new intern. Correct. Kevin's face went white. His lips trembled, but no words came out. Jessica Meyer. I turned to a woman with heavy makeup. You've been taking kickbacks from our vendors. Last quarter alone, over $50,000 went into your personal account. Don't need to print out the bank statements for you. Jessica's body went limp, and she slumped into her chair. And you, Stan Harris. One by one, I called them out, listing their dirty deeds, every last one. With each accusation, their faces grew paler. By the end, all 8 of them were ashen-faced, trembling like leaves in a storm. They couldn't understand how I, someone who had been here for half a day, knew every detail of their sordid histories. It was simple. The files Isabella had given me included not just the department's business data, but also a full HR background check and performance review for every employee. The misdeeds of these parasites were all documented in black and white. They had just been protected by Donovan before. Now, Donovan was gone. Do I need to continue? I asked, my voice cold. You can leave gracefully on your own, or I can hand these files to our legal department, and you can see how you like a few years in prison. Thump. Kevin was the first to drop to his knees, grabbing my leg and wailing. Director Cole, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, give me another chance. I'll never do it again. Once the first one broke, the rest followed. Soon, all of them were on the floor, crying and begging for mercy. The other employees in the room stared, utterly dumbfounded. They watched this unbelievable scene unfold, seeing the people who had lorded over them for so long now groveling like dogs. They were shocked, but also deeply satisfied. When they looked back at me, their eyes were filled with a fervent admiration. This new director wasn't just a genius. His methods were like a force of nature. Working for a leader like this, how could they not have a future? Too late. I kicked Kevin's hand away in disgust. I already gave you a chance. Security. At my command, several guards rushed in and dragged the pathetic group out of the room. The conference room was finally quiet. I looked at the remaining employees. From now on, in the marketing department, my word is law. I need a pack of wolves ready for battle, not a kennel of whimpering dogs. Now, for a few promotions. Ashley Reed, a quiet girl with black-framed glasses, jerked her head up, her face a picture of disbelief. Starting today, you are the new team lead from Marketing Group 1. You will take over all the projects Kevin and his team left behind. Ashley. She was the intern Kevin had thrown under the bus. I'd read her file. Top university, brilliant, but held back because she was introverted and didn't play politics. Me? Can I? Can I really do it? Ashley's voice trembled with emotion. I say you can, so you can, I said, giving her an encouraging look. Show me what you've got. Don't let me down. Yes. Director Cole, I promise I will not fail. Ashley shot to her feet and gave me a deep, emotional bow. Leo Martinez, you're the new team lead for Group 2. Sarah Chun, you'll be in charge of. I promoted several more people, just like Ashley, talented, hard-working employees who had been suppressed. Then, I announced that effective immediately, everyone's salary would be increased by 30%. The room erupted. Everyone leaped to their feet, cheering and applauding, the sound thunderous and unending. I knew in that moment I had truly taken control of this department. My third fire had not only burned away the parasites, but had ignited the passion in everyone who remained. For the next month, the office was basically my home. Under my leadership, the marketing department exploded with astonishing energy and drive. The department that had been a toxic swamp under Donovan was now a well-oiled machine. Everyone was fired up, fighting like their lives depended on it. Ashley didn't disappoint me. She showed a determination and toughness that belied her quiet exterior. She not only cleaned up Kevin's mess, but also landed 2 major new clients with her brilliant proposals. Guided by my strategy, our 3-pronged attack advanced with incredible speed, bringing back victory after victory. The investment team finalized the deal with Mr. Sterling's company in a week, securing a 10-year exclusive global distribution right for the catalyst at an unbelievably favorable price. The sales team was unstoppable. They tore through the market vacuum left by Apex Industries, securing nearly 70% of the Midwest's eco-friendly materials contracts in just 1 month, with a total value exceeding $500 million. The PR campaign was also a roaring success. Frost Corporation, American-made catalyst, and green tech leader became headline buzzwords in every major financial publication. As a result, Frost Corporation's stock price soared, and its market capitalization grew by over $30 billion in a single month. The entire company was buzzing. My name, Ethan Cole, became a legend within Frost Corporation. Everyone knew a miracle worker had arrived, a man who had created tens of billions in value for the company in just 1 month. Throughout it all, Isabella gave me her absolute, unwavering trust and support. No matter how audacious my plans were, no matter how many resources I requested, her answer was always the same: approved. She never asked about the process, only the results. And I never, ever let her down. We developed a strange, unspoken partnership. We didn't talk much, but we both knew the other was the most reliable ally we had. One afternoon, I had just finished a video conference when the private line from Isabella's office rang. "Come to my office." The same cool, detached tone. I walked in to find her standing by the massive window, looking out at the city. The evening sun cast a golden glow on her, outlining her perfect silhouette. She was breathtaking. "Ms. Frost, you wanted to see me?" She turned and handed me a gold-embossed invitation. "There's a charity gala tonight. You're coming with me." I took the invitation. It was for the Starlight Charity Gala, hosted by several of the city's most powerful families. It was a high-profile event. "All right," I said, not asking any questions. "The gala will be crowded. We might run into some unfriendly faces," Isabella said, looking at me with a complex expression, "especially remnants from Apex Industries and some old rivals." I got it. This wasn't just a party, it was a battlefield. Apex Industries had fallen, but its network of allies wouldn't just give up. And Frost Corporation's recent meteoric rise had stepped on a lot of toes. Someone would undoubtedly try to use this opportunity to make a statement. Isabella was taking me to both announce my position to the world and to have me watch her back. "Don't worry," I smiled. "Let them come." Isabella looked at my confident smile, and a flicker of something soft and unreadable passed through her eyes. "I had a suit sent to your office. Be downstairs at 6. With that, she turned back to the window, leaving me with her cool, enigmatic back. Back in my office, a sophisticated gift box was sitting on the sofa. Inside was a perfectly tailored Armani tuxedo. The size, the style, it was as if it had been made just for me. A smaller box next to it held a Patek Philippe watch. The woman was surprisingly thoughtful. At 6 o'clock, dressed in the new tuxedo, I was a new man. When I arrived at the underground garage, Isabella was already waiting by her Ferrari. She had traded her usual power suit for a stunning black evening gown. The dress was simple in design, but clung to her every curve, outlining a figure that could stop a man's heart. A brilliant diamond necklace sparkled against her pale skin. She was cool, noble, and lethally alluring. Even I, who had seen my share of beautiful women, was momentarily stunned. When she saw me, her eyes widened slightly, a flash of genuine surprise in their cool depths. "It fits," she commented flatly, getting into the car. I followed her in. "Buckle up." The words were barely out of her mouth before the Ferrari roared to life, shooting out of the garage like an arrow from a bow. The Starlight Charity Gala was held in the grand ballroom of the city's most luxurious hotel. The moment I stepped onto the red carpet with Isabella on my arm, we became the center of the universe. 100 flashbulbs went off at once, and reporters swarmed us like sharks that had scented blood. "It's Isabella Frost of Frost Corporation. Who's the man with her? He's so young and handsome. Could that be her boyfriend?" Isabella was used to this. She walked through the crowd with an elegant grace, her Ice Queen persona perfectly intact. I, on the other hand, smiled and waved at the cameras completely at ease. Inside, the ballroom was a glittering sea of champagne glasses and designer gowns. Everyone here was part of the city's true elite, with net worths starting in the tens of billions. Our arrival caused an immediate stir. So that's the famous Ice Queen? She lives up to the legend. Who's the pretty boy with her? Never seen him before. Sure. Are you trying to get yourself killed? That's Ethan Cole, the guy who's been tearing up the business world. I heard he's the one who took down Apex Industries. What? Him? He's so young. The whispers followed us, a mix of jealousy, awe, and curiosity. I paid them no mind, simply sipping a glass of champagne by Isabella's side, making small talk with those who came up to us. Suddenly, a dissonant voice cut through the murmur. Well, if it isn't Ms. Frost. What a rare sight. A young man in a loud, patterned shirt, looking slick and arrogant, swaggered over with a drink in his hand. A few other rich kids trailed behind him. He looked at Isabella with an expression of undisguised lust and provocation. Mr. Thorne. Isabella's voice turned cold. Kyle Thorne, the only son of Marcus Thorne, the crown prince of the now defunct Apex Industries. Even though the company was gone, the family still had plenty of assets overseas, which was why he could still strut around here. Don't call me Mr. Thorne, it's so formal. Kyle grinned, revealing teeth stained yellow from tobacco and alcohol. Call me Kyle. His greedy eyes roamed over Isabella, then landed on me, instantly turning venomous. You got some nerve, Ms. Frost. My father just got locked up, and you're already showing off your new boy toy? Or maybe you and this pretty boy are the ones who set my father up. He said it loudly, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. The atmosphere tensed. This was a direct challenge. Kyle, I suggest you watch your mouth, Isabella said, her voice dropping several degrees. Watch my mouth? My father's in prison. What have I got left to lose? Kyle sneered, and then suddenly, he flung the contents of his wine glass directly in my face. Who the hell do you think you are, standing here with her? It happened so fast that people gasped. But just as the red wine was about to hit me, I took a slight step to the side, easily dodging the spray. At the same time, I hooked my foot around his ankle. Ah! Kyle's feet went out from under him. He yelped as he lost his balance and pitched forward. Directly in front of him was a table stacked high with a pyramid of champagne glasses. Crash! With an explosive shatter of glass, Kyle face-planted into the champagne tower. He was drenched in alcohol and covered in glass shards, a pathetic, dripping mess. The entire ballroom went silent. Everyone stared, dumbfounded. I casually swirled the champagne in my own glass, walked over to the disgraced Kyle Thorne, and looked down at him. Is that all you've got? I smiled, then slowly, deliberately, poured the contents of my glass over his head. If you want revenge, tell your father to come and get it himself when he gets out of prison. Or you could try. But I promise you, next time, you won't be lucky enough to just fall down. My voice was quiet, but it was filled with an absolute, chilling authority. Kyle trembled, looking into my deep, cold eyes. A primal fear, rising from the depths of his soul, consumed him. It was as if he were looking not at a man, but at a demon from the abyss. He opened his mouth to retort, but found he couldn't speak. The surrounding guests were all looking at me like I was a monster. So arrogant, so dominant, to crush the air of Apex Industries like a bug in front of the entire city's elite. This Ethan Cole was truly a madman. That's enough. A powerful, commanding voice rang out. A man in his 60s, wearing a traditional suit and holding a pair of walnuts in his hand, approached, surrounded by an entourage. His face was grim as he surveyed the chaos, his eyes finally landing on me with intense disapproval. Mr. Kingsley, Isabella whispered at my side. William Kingsley, one of the gala's hosts and the patriarch of the Kingsley family, one of the city's oldest and most respected dynasties. Kyle saw him and scrambled over like he'd found a savior. Uncle William, you have to help me. This bastard, he hit me. He humiliated my family. Kingsley frowned, helped Kyle up, then turned his cold gaze on us. Isabella, is this the man you brought with you? He certainly has a flair for the dramatic. Causing a scene at my event, is that not a sign of disrespect towards me? His words were calm, but the pressure behind them made the air feel heavy. He was calling us out. Isabella was about to speak, but I stepped forward. Mr. Kingsley, is it? I looked at him with an amused smile. We came here to enjoy a party, not to listen to a stray dog bark. When someone can't control their own dog, I'm happy to do it for them. You should be thanking me. A collective gasp went through the crowd. He was insane. Absolutely insane. How dare he speak to William Kingsley like that? Kingsley's face darkened instantly. He had been a king in the business world for decades. He had never been so openly defied. What a sharp-tongued little punk. Kingsley laughed, but there was no humor in it. Young man, a little success has made you arrogant. Do you believe that with a single word, I could make it so you have no future left in this entire region? Is that so? I smiled a wide, brilliant smile. I'd love to see you try. You. Kingsley was shaking with rage. Just then, the grand doors of the ballroom swung open again. An old man in a simple, elegant suit, radiating vitality, entered with a confident stride, flanked by a group of men in black suits. When the crowd saw him, everyone froze. Even the furious William Kingsley's expression went rigid, replaced by one of utter shock. And was that fear? Is that Mr. Blackwood? Someone stammered, their voice trembling. James Blackwood, a titan of American industry. A legendary figure who could cause the entire national economy to tremble with a single decision. He had been retired for years, completely out of the public eye. What was he doing here? Everyone held their breath, trying to understand what was happening. Blackwood ignored the entire room. He walked straight through the stunned crowd, and in front of everyone, he came to stop directly in front of me. Then he did something that made every jaw in the room hit the floor. He bowed, a deep, respectful 90-degree bow. Young master, why did you come to a place like this? You should have told me you were coming, sir. I would have come to collect you personally. Bone! It was as if the entire ballroom had been struck by 100 bolts of lightning. Every mind went blank. Young master, Sir James Blackwood, the man at the absolute pinnacle of the American business world, was bowing to Ethan Cole. William Kingsley swayed on his feet, nearly collapsing. The blood drained from his face, leaving it whiter than a ghost's. He stared at me, his eyes filled with a terror so profound it was paralyzing. What had he just said? He was going to destroy Ethan Cole's future. He had just threatened James Blackwood's young master. It was over. The Kingsley family was utterly and completely finished. Kyle Thorne's eyes rolled back in his head, and he fainted dead away. And beside me, Isabella Frost, on her eternally frozen face, for the first time, showed an expression of pure, unadulterated shock. Her beautiful eyes were wide, her lips slightly parted, and she stared at me as if she were seeing me for the very first time. I looked at the concerned face of James Blackwood and sighed. James, didn't I ask you not to call me that in public? All I wanted was to be a regular guy. Punching clock. Why was that so hard? Blackwood straightened up, a look of worry on his face. Young master, you disappeared for 3 years. Your grandfather has practically turned the entire planet upside down looking for you. If I hadn't found you soon, you would have had my hide. I rubbed my temples. 3 years ago, I had grown tired of my family's arrangements, tired of a life where everything was handed to me, where I was surrounded by nothing but yes men. So, I ran away. I changed my name and tried to make it on my own to experience a normal life. So I became a salesman at a small company. I hadn't experienced much of a normal life, but I had definitely experienced a lot of frustration. It wasn't until the day I was fired that I finally understood. The idea of an ordinary life is just a comfort for the powerless. In this world, strength is the only thing that matters. All right, James, we'll talk about my situation later. I wave him off, my gaze shifting to the terrified William Kingsley. You were saying something about me having no future. Thump. Kingsley's legs gave out. In front of the entire room, he felt his knees. Young master, I was blind. I'm a worthless fool. I beg you, spare my life. He started slapping his own face hard, the sound echoing in the silent room. In moments, his face was swollen and bruised. The guests didn't dare breathe. The scene unfolding before them had completely shattered their understanding of the world. A powerful patriarch, a man they all looked up to, was kneeling like a dog in front of a young man, begging for his life. Spare you? I sneered. You were pretty high and mighty a minute ago. Kingsley was terrified out of his mind, knocking his head on the floor. I was wrong. I'm a dog. A blind, stupid dog. For Mr. Blackwood Sake, I beg you, Please let my family survive. I glanced at Blackwood. He understood immediately. He stepped forward, his voice cold as a winter night. William Kingsley, you have some nerve, showing such disrespect to the young master. As of today, all Blackwood Enterprises and their subsidiaries will sever all ties with the Kingsley family and any company affiliated with them. Furthermore, by sunrise tomorrow, I expect to see news of Kingsley Industries filing for bankruptcy and liquidation. If that doesn't happen, you can jump from the top of this hotel. Blackwood's words were spoken quietly, but they were a death sentence. Kingsley's body went rigid. Then he collapsed into a heap on the floor, his eyes empty, his face the color of ash. He knew. The Kingsley family was finished. By offending the young master that Blackwood served, there was no place for them. Not in this city, not in this country, not anywhere in the world. I didn't look at him again. I turned and took the hand of Isabella, who was still in a state of shock. Let's go. Her hand was cold, her palms slightly damp. I could feel her heart racing. I led her through the crowd of terrified, awestruck people and out of the ballroom. Behind us, there was only silence and the sound of William Kingsley's hopeless sobs. The Ferrari sped through the night. Inside the car, there was only silence. Isabella gripped the steering wheel, her eyes fixed on the road, her beautiful profile a mixture of complex emotions. After a long time, she finally spoke, her voice holding a faint tremor. Who are you? I looked out the window at the passing city lights and smiled faintly. Just a homeless, unemployed guy you picked up off the street. Isabella slammed on the brakes, pulling the car over by the river. She turned, her cool, sharp eyes locked on me, filled with shock, confusion, and a hint of hurt. Ethan, how long are you going to lie to me? James Blackwood called you young master. William Kingsley kneeled before you like a dog. Are you going to tell me that's something a normal, unemployed guy can do? It was the first time I had ever seen her so emotional. Looking at her, at the slight redness in her eyes, my heart softened. I am sorry. I never meant to lie to you. I sighed, deciding it was time to come clean. My name is Ethan Cole. That part is true. I really did run away from home, and I really was fired. As for my family, I paused. Let's just say James Blackwood is just one of our family's butlers. Isabella's body jolted. James Blackwood was just a butler, the business titan who could make the entire national economy tremble, was just a butler in his family. Then what kind of terrifying entity was his family? The information was too much, so much that her brain couldn't seem to process it. She just stared at me, speechless. Seeing her stunned expression, I found it a little amusing, and I reached out and gently pinched her cheek. What? Cat got your tongue. My touch made her flinch, and two bright red patches bloomed on her cheeks. She had never been so intimate with any man. Let go of me, she said, flustered, pushing my hand away and avoiding my eyes. In that moment, she didn't look like an ice queen at all, but like a young girl experiencing her first crush. Seeing her blush, I felt a sudden impulse. I leaned in and gently I kissed her. Isabella's body went completely rigid. Her eyes flew open, wide with disbelief. Time seemed to stand still. The river breeze blew, rustling her hair. After what felt like an eternity, she seemed to wake from a dream. She pushed me away, her face so red it looked like it was on fire. You jerk. She cursed me, but there was no real anger in her voice. It sounded more like a complaint. She started the car again and hit the gas, the Ferrari launching forward as if she were trying to outrun her own flustered heart. I sat in the passenger seat, touching my lips. I could still feel her warmth, her scent. I smiled. It seemed my 3-year experiment in being a normal person wasn't a total waste. At the very least, it led me to her. The next day, the American business world experienced an earthquake of unprecedented scale. The Kingsley family, an old money dynasty, was bankrupted and liquidated overnight. All of their assets were acquired by an obscure overseas fund at a laughably low price. William Kingsley himself was taken into federal custody, facing multiple charges of financial crimes. The news stunned the world. No one could figure out what kind of power could annihilate a deeply entrenched, multi-billion-dollar empire in a single night. The guests who had attended the charity gala remained silent, every one of them tight-lipped and terrified. They knew that a terrifying power, one they weren't even worthy of looking up to, had arrived. And the cause of it all, me, was currently relaxing in my office at Frost Corporation, sipping coffee and looking over the latest sales reports. The numbers were spectacular. With no internal or external threats, the beast I had awakened in the marketing department was now devouring the market with unstoppable force. Knock, knock. Come in. Isabella walked in. She was back to her Ice Queen persona today, dressed in a white power suit that made her look even more coolly elegant. But the way she looked at me was different. It was no longer calm, but held a complex mix of emotions, and she couldn't quite meet my eyes. Ms. Frost, can I help you? I asked, playing dumb. No. She walked to my desk and put down a file. This is the strategic plan for the next quarter. Take a look. Her movements were a little stiff, as if she wasn't used to being alone with me. I picked up the file, but didn't look at it. Instead, I looked up at her. You seem to be afraid of me, Ms. Frost. I am not, she retorted immediately, but the tips of her ears turned red, betraying her. Then why can't you look at me? I stood up and walked toward her, step by step. She instinctively backed away until her back was against the cold wall, with nowhere left to go. I placed my hands on the wall on either side of her, trapping her. A textbook wall pin. Ethan, what? What are you doing? This is the office, she stammered, her heart pounding. So what if it's the office? I leaned in close, my warm breath brushing against her ear. You're mine. I can do whatever I want to you. My voice was low, dominant, and left no room for argument. Isabella's body went weak, and her face flushed crimson. She closed her eyes, her long eyelashes trembling, as if she had surrendered. I looked at her, ready to be claimed, and I had to smile. I didn't take it any further. I stepped back, giving her space. Just kidding, I grinned. Better get to that file, Ms. Frost. Isabella's eyes flew open. Seeing the mischievous smile on my face, she knew she'd been played. A mix of shame and annoyance washed over her. She shot me a glare, snatched the file from the desk, and turned to flee. Wait, I called out. She paused, but didn't turn around. Are you free this weekend? I asked. For what? Her voice was barely a whisper. To come home with me. Meet my family. Isabella's body went completely still. She slowly turned around to look at me, her cool, almond-shaped eyes filled with an indescribable shock and a hint of anticipation. When I pulled up to the gates of a sprawling, multi-thousand-acre estate on the outskirts of the city in the one-of-a-kind Bugatti that James Blackwood had gifted me, Isabella had gone completely numb. The estate before us wasn't a home, it was a palace. The high walls, the stern face guards, the endless classical gardens. Everything screamed of a wealth and power that was almost impossible to comprehend. This is your home. Isabella's voice was faint. Yeah, one of them, I said casually. The car stopped in front of the main residence. A white-haired but energetic old man in a perfect butler's uniform was already waiting by the door, flanked by dozens of servants. It was James Blackwood. Welcome home, young master. Welcome, young mistress. Blackwood and the entire staff bowed a perfect 90 degrees in unison, their voices ringing out. Young mistress? Isabella's face flushed red again. I, for one, was quite pleased with his choice of title. I clapped him on the shoulder. Good man, James. Blackwood beamed. I took a still hesitant Isabella by the hand and led her inside. In the grand hall, a formidable old man in a tailored suit sat in a large, throne-like chair, sipping tea. His presence was commanding, radiating an aura of absolute power. This was my grandfather, Arthur Cole, the man who could give the entire global economy a cold with a single stomp of his foot. He put down his teacup as we entered, his sharp gaze landing on Isabella. She immediately felt a crushing pressure, as if a mountain were pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. I stepped in front of her, shielding her from it. Grandfather, I'm home. Oomph. So you finally decided to come back, he snorted, but the joy in his eyes was impossible to hide. He looked at Isabella behind me, and his intense gaze softened considerably. You must be Isabella, my dear. Hello, grandfather, Isabella said, mustering her courage. Yes. Excellent. Excellent, he said twice, the wrinkles around his eyes crinkling with his smile. He took a stunning, emerald-green diamond necklace from a nearby box, and before she could protest, fastened it around her neck. A small welcome gift for our first meeting. Isabella looked at the necklace and was horrified. Even she could tell the emeralds were of the highest quality, flawless, each one worth a fortune. The entire piece was easily worth over $100 million. Grandfather, this is too much. I can't accept. Nonsense. Arthur feigned annoyance. We're family now. My grandson's wife deserves nothing less. After some back and forth, Isabella finally accepted it. Dinner was a joyous affair. My grandfather was clearly thrilled with his new granddaughter-in-law, constantly putting food on her plate and fussing over her. After dinner, I took Isabella for a walk through the gardens. Still think I'm a liar? I asked with a smile. She rolled her eyes at me, but the corners of her lips were turned up in a smile. She leaned her head on my shoulder, watching the sunset. Ethan, she said softly, I feel like I'm in a dream. It's not a dream. I wrapped my arm around her waist and whispered in her ear, from now on, I'm here. No one will ever hurt you again. My queen, I will protect your world. 6 months later, Frost Corporation, CEO's office. I was lounging on the sofa, watching Isabella sit at her desk, meticulously working through a stack of documents. In the past 6 months, with my help, Frost Corporation had undergone a complete transformation. It wasn't just the undisputed king of the green tech sector anymore. It had expanded into artificial intelligence, biopharmaceuticals, and several other cutting-edge fields. Its market cap had surpassed $1 trillion, making it a true global behemoth. And Isabella had gone from being a regional ice queen to a globally renowned business goddess. Of course, everyone knew that behind this goddess stood a godlike man. Still working? I yawned. Isabella looked up and rolled her eyes, but her expression was filled with a soft affection. Not all of us can afford to be lazy and delegate everything. I chuckled, walked over, and wrapped my arms around her from behind. The most capable people do the most work. Besides, if I did everything, how would everyone see how amazing my CEO is? She laughed at that, leaning back into my embrace, savoring the rare moment of peace. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Chloe entered, a strange expression on her face. Ms. Frost, Mr. Cole. She didn't dare call me director anymore. There's someone downstairs who wants to see you. Who is it? Isabella asked. He said, his name is Mark Peterson. Mark Peterson. It took me a second to retrieve the name from the dusty corners of my memory. Oh, right. The greasy manager who had fired me. He had the nerve to show up here. Send him up, I said, suddenly intrigued. A few minutes later, a man who was even fatter and more pathetic looking than he had been 6 months ago shuffled into the office. It was Mark. When he saw me, he flinched, and his face contorted into a smile that was more painful than a grimace. Mr. Cole, Ms. Frost. He was holding a cheap-looking fruit basket. What do you want? I asked flatly. Mr. Cole, Mark suddenly dropped to his knees with a loud thud, tears streaming down his face. I was wrong. I was a blind fool to have crossed you. Please, I beg you, have mercy on me. Give me a chance to survive. After I left, his small company lost the sterling deal, their funding dried up, and they went bankrupt. Mark lost his job, and because the story of what he'd done to me had spread through the industry, no one would hire him. For the past 6 months, he had been surviving on odd jobs, his life a wreck. My wife left me. I had to sell my house. I have nothing left. Please, Mr. Cole, for old time's sake, just give me something, anything, a janitor job, I don't care. He was a blubbering mess, banging his head on the floor. Isabella looked at me, a hint of pity in her eyes, but I just stared at him coldly. Back then, when you and HR conspired to kick me out, did you ever think about giving me a chance to survive? Back then, when you were about to steal the credit for 3 months of my hard work, did you ever think about old time's sake? Each of my questions was a hammer blow to his heart. He collapsed on the floor, his face gray with despair. Get out. I said only those 2 words. It wasn't that I was cruel. It was that some people are never, ever worthy of pity. Mark was dragged out by security, a hollowed-out shell of a man. The office was quiet again. Isabella came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her cheek against my back. Thank you, she said softly. I turned in her arms, pulled her close, and lowered my head to kiss her. Outside the window, the sun was bright, The world was peaceful. My legend had only just begun.